Preview of Logos Logic. What is a propositional statement? How do I organize a logical argument? How do I use reasons and evidence? And how do I evaluate evidence? A propositional statement is a claim with which you want your audience to agree. It is a statement or claim that you want your audience to believe as being either a proposition of fact, value, or policy. A proposition of fact is one that is a question of true or false. A proposition of value is a question of worthiness or value. A proposition of policy is something that should be done. Consider these two propositions. Proposition 1, driving while intoxicated remains a problem within the United States and in the city. Proposition 2, because people do not know enough about alcohol and its effects, I propose that a mandatory course in alcohol education be required before one can receive his or her driver's license. This is a great example of a proposition of policy. A proposition of policy is one of the most popular kinds of propositions out there because it involves action. It's what you'll be doing in this course. Important considerations. What is the problem and what is the solution? For the problem, inform us of the problem and present evidence that shows us that there is a problem. Show us how the problem affects us, the audience. Be sure that you've chosen a topic that fits this organizational pattern, because not all topics fit this organizational pattern. Some topics lend themselves better to cause and effect or refutation rather than problem and solution. Be sure to describe the solution. Show how the solution may solve or reduce the problem. If your audience is already aware of the problem, be sure to add extra emphasis to the solution. If your topic is one that the audience is already familiar with, it's going to be more difficult to frame your persuasive topic no matter what organizational style you're using. In order to prove something, you must use reasons and evidence. Reasons are believable claims or statements. Evidence is used to support your reasons or main points. For example, illustrations, examples, research, statistics, expert opinion. Proof is reasons and evidence put together logically. There are three big kinds of reasoning: inductive, deductive, and causal. You've been exposed to these ideas before. Inductive reasoning is using specific instances or examples to reach a probable general conclusion. Inductive reasoning also includes reasoning by analogy. Reasoning by analogy is a special kind of inductive reasoning that draws a comparison between two ideas, things, or situations that share some essential common features. Reasoning by analogy is a specific kind of inductive reasoning that draws a comparison between two ideas, things, or situations that share some essential common feature. Deductive reasoning is moving from a general statement or principle to reach a certain specific conclusion. A syllogism is a great example of deductive reasoning. A syllogism is a three-part argument including a major premise, a minor premise, and a conclusion. And finally, causal reasoning is relating two or more events in such a way as to conclude that one or more of the events is caused by the others. A logical fallacy is false reasoning that occurs when someone attempts to persuade without adequate evidence or with arguments that are irrelevant or inappropriate. A causal fallacy is making a faulty cause and effect connection between two things or events. A bandwagon fallacy is suggesting that because everyone believes something or does something, it must be valid, accurate, or effective. An either-or fallacy is oversimplifying an issue and only offering two choices. A hasty generalization is reaching a conclusion without adequate supporting evidence. A personal attack or ad hominem fallacy is attacking irrelevant personal characteristics of someone connected with an idea, rather than addressing the idea itself. A red herring fallacy is irrelevant facts or information used to distract someone from the issue under discussion. An appeal to misplaced authority fallacy is using someone without the appropriate credentials or expertise to endorse an idea or product. A non sequitur argument is Latin for it does not follow. It's presenting an idea or conclusion that does not logically follow from the previous idea or conclusion. In inductive reasoning, reasoning begins with specific examples and ends with a general conclusion. and the conclusion is probable or not probable. In deductive reasoning, reasoning begins with a general statement, ends with a specific conclusion. The conclusion is certain or not certain. In causal reasoning, reasoning begins with something known, ends with a speculation about causes or effects of what is known, and the conclusion is likely or not likely. So here are some things that are really important to remember when evaluating evidence. Is the evidence a fact or opinion? Where does the evidence come from? Is the evidence source credible? Does the evidence clearly relate to the claim? Is the evidence current? Is enough evidence offered? How is the evidence interpreted? So here's where we've been. We talked about what a propositional statement was. We talked about how to organize logical arguments, how to use reasons and evidence, and how to evaluate evidence.